In Mexican folklore, the story of La Llorona, also known as the Weeping Woman, is one of the most haunting and sorrowful legends. Passed down through generations, this tale has left an indelible mark on the cultural psyche, blending tragedy, despair, and fear. La Llorona is more than just a ghost story to frighten children. It carries profound messages about love, regret, and the devastating consequences of decisions made in moments of despair. According to legend, La Llorona was once a beautiful and captivating woman living in a small village, admired by many. She fell in love and married a wealthy man, and together they had two beautiful children. However, her life took a dark turn when her husband grew distant, neglecting his family and eventually abandoning them for another woman. His betrayal drove La Llorona into an unbearable state of despair. In her anguish and uncontrollable grief, La Llorona committed an unthinkable act. She drowned her two children in a river, believing it was the only way to free them and herself from the pain. Yet, as soon as she did it, she realized the gravity of her unforgivable sin. Consumed by overwhelming guilt and sorrow, she took her own life by throwing herself into the river, her tears mingling with the waters as she cried out in agony. But death was not an escape for La Llorona. Her soul was cursed to wander the earth forever, searching for the children she had lost in her moment of despair. Since then, locals have told of her ghostly figure appearing near rivers, lakes, and other bodies of water. Dressed in a tattered white gown, with long disheveled hair, she roams the night, crying mournfully for her lost children. Her sorrowful wails of mis hijos, my children, are said to be a part of her eternal curse. People believe that if you hear her cries close by, she is actually far away. However, if her cries grow faint, La Llorona might be standing right next to you.
The screen opens to a quiet riverbank at dusk. The soft golden hues of the setting sun reflect on the water, creating an atmosphere of tranquility. Birds chirp in the distance, and the gentle sound of flowing water fills the air. Standing near the edge of the river is a strikingly beautiful woman, La Llorona, dressed in a flowing white gown. Her long black hair cascades down her back, and her face is a mixture of sadness and inner turmoil. Beside her, two young children, no older than 6 or 7, laugh and play innocently, unaware of the storm brewing within their mother. As the scene progresses, La Llorona's face begins to change. Her expression shifts from sorrow to a cold determination, her breathing heavy and erratic. She clutches the edge of her dress tightly as though battling an internal conflict. In the background, faint whispers begin to fill the air, perhaps her own thoughts or the echoes of her despair. The children, still laughing, reach out to her, but she remains distant, staring blankly at the river. The camera focuses on her eyes, glistening with tears as her hands tremble. Her mind flashes back to moments of betrayal, her husband's cold words, his infidelity, and the pain she felt as she realized she had been abandoned. These visions push her closer to the edge, her anguish overtaking her. Suddenly, the whispers grow louder, and her breathing becomes erratic. In a fit of rage or uncontrollable sorrow, she grabs the children by their arms. The innocence in their eyes turns to confusion and fear as they look up at their mother, who has always been their protector. The scene darkens as La Llorona's screams pierce the silence, a heart-wrenching mix of pain and fury. With trembling hands, she pushes the children into the cold, rushing river. Their cries for help echo into the night as the water envelops them. The camera lingers on her face, which now reflects a mix of horror and regret. She collapses to her knees at the riverbank, sobbing uncontrollably, her cries blending with the sound of the rushing river. As the realization of her actions sinks in, she rises to her feet and walks into the river herself, her gown billowing around her in the current. The screen fades to black as the last image is of La Llorona's figure disappearing beneath the surface, leaving behind an eerie silence. Over the years, countless people have claimed to witness La Llorona near rivers and lakes, her ghostly figure haunting the dark waters with her mournful cries. Those who have encountered her describe a chilling sight. A woman dressed in a flowing white gown, her hair disheveled and cascading down her back, her face hidden in the shadows. The eerie silence of the night is often broken by her sorrowful wails, calling out for her lost children. Mis hijos, my children. This haunting cry sends shivers down the spine of anyone who hears it, a sound that lingers long after it fades into the darkness. Witnesses often recount the same unnerving detail. If her cries sound loud and close, she is actually far away. However, if her cries seem faint and distant, she may be standing right behind you. This chilling reversal has become a hallmark of her legend, instilling fear in those who find themselves near water at night. Imagine standing by a quiet lake, the moonlight reflecting off the surface, when suddenly a faint sobbing reaches your ears. At first you may think it's just the wind, but as the cries grow louder, an overwhelming sense of dread washes over you. Do you dare look behind you? One story tells of a fisherman who decided to cast his net late at night, along a secluded riverbank. As he worked, he began to hear soft, sorrowful cries coming from upstream. At first, he brushed it off as an animal or perhaps a trick of the wind. But as the cries grew louder, they became unmistakably human. Turning his lantern toward the sound, he saw a figure in white standing motionless on the opposite bank. The figure's head was bowed, her long hair covering her face, and her cries pierced the stillness of the night. Terrified, the fisherman quickly packed his things and fled, swearing never to return to that spot again. Another tale involves a young couple who ventured close to a river late one evening. As they walked hand in hand, they heard faint sobbing carried by the wind. The girl, feeling uneasy, urged her boyfriend to leave, but he insisted it was nothing. Moments later, they both froze as a shadowy figure appeared ahead of them, draped in white and slowly moving toward the water. The couple watched in terror as the figure stopped, turned toward them, and let out a heart-wrenching scream before vanishing into the mist. These accounts, whether true or imagined, have cemented La Llorona's place as one of the most terrifying spirits in folklore. Her presence serves as both a warning and a mystery, a spectral reminder of her tragic tale for those who live near rivers and lakes. The legend of La Llorona is not just a story, it is a part of their lives, a whispered caution to avoid the waters at night. In Mexico, the legend of La Llorona is more than just a ghost story. It's a warning, passed down through generations to teach children about the dangers of wandering alone at night, especially near rivers and lakes. Parents often recount her tragic tale as a way to instill caution and obedience in their children. The story of La Llorona is both a chilling reminder of her sorrowful existence and a symbolic lesson about staying safe. According to the legend, La Llorona, consumed by guilt and despair after drowning her children, now roams the earth searching for them. In her desperate sorrow, it is believed she might mistake other children for her own. Her cries of mis hijos, my children, echo through the night, and those who hear her are advised to leave immediately, as encountering her could bring misfortune or worse. Parents tell their children that La Llorona can appear suddenly near water, her ghostly figure dressed in white, and lure the unsuspecting into her grasp. This warning is particularly significant in rural areas, where rivers and lakes are prominent. The fear of La Llorona's presence not only keeps children from wandering far from home, but also teaches them the importance of listening to their elders and being cautious in dangerous places. La Llorona is far more than a simple ghost story designed to frighten children. Her legend transcends the realm of mere folklore, becoming a powerful symbol of human grief, guilt, and the profound consequences of decisions made in moments of pain. For generations, her tale has resonated deeply with those who hear it, not only as a chilling cautionary story, but also as a reflection of the fragile human condition. The story of La Llorona begins with heartbreak, a woman betrayed by her husband, abandoned with her children, and overwhelmed by despair. Her fateful decision to drown her children and then herself is an act of profound sorrow and rage, a moment of irreversible tragedy that binds her to the mortal world. In her afterlife, La Llorona is said to wander endlessly, crying out for her lost children, unable to move on. This image of a restless, grieving spirit serves as a haunting reminder of how our actions, even in the most painful of times, can leave an indelible mark on our lives and the world around us. La Llorona's tale carries themes that are universally relatable. It speaks to the deep sorrow of loss, the heavy burden of guilt, and the desperate need for redemption. These are emotions that many people have experienced, making her story not just a supernatural legend, but a human one. Through her endless cries of mis hijos, my children, we are reminded of the weight of regret and the lasting impact of our decisions, particularly those made in moments of anguish. The enduring power of La Llorona lies in her ambiguity. Is she a real spirit, doomed to wander the earth in search of her children? Or is she a myth created to embody the darker aspects of human nature? This question remains unanswered, and perhaps it is this very uncertainty that gives her story its strength. Whether as a real ghost or a symbolic figure, La Llorona continues to capture the imagination and fears of those who hear her tale. For some, she is a warning, a spectral presence that deters children and adults alike from venturing too close to dangerous waters at night. For others, she is a metaphor, a reminder to think carefully about the choices we make and the emotions we allow to drive us. Her story teaches us that pain, though inevitable, must be confronted with courage and resolve. rather than rash actions that may lead to deeper sorrow. La Llorona's legend endures because it reflects a truth about the human experience. Grief and guilt are powerful forces capable of shaping our lives and decisions in profound ways. As we hear her cries in the tale, we are left to wonder, is she real, or simply a creation of collective fears and lessons? That question, like La Llorona herself, lingers in the shadows, unanswered but deeply meaningful.